Hello and welcome to another video of the Talos Linux Install Fest, and I still cannot say that smoothly. I'm Justin Garrison. I work at Sidero Labs, creator of Talos Linux, and in this series we've been going through installing Talos Linux and creating a Kubernetes cluster on environments with first-time users, someone who's never used Talos Linux before, but probably is a little familiar with the environment. It's been a lot of fun. I've been learning a lot of stuff about the environments. Hopefully you've been learning too. If you are watching live, feel free to drop a comment. If you're following along, please let us know if you get stuck on any steps or need help with some troubleshooting, because that's why we're here. That's why we're doing it live instead of pre-record videos, just kind of throwing them up there. So today we have another brand new user here. Joe is helping us out with an AWS setup. And AWS is often one of those requested environments where it's like, hey, can't I just run Talos Linux and Kubernetes there in EC2? And absolutely you can. We've already shown it in almost a dozen different environments, and AWS is one of them for sure. So let's go ahead and get started. Oh, and by the way, if you are interested in Talos Linux, learning more about Sidero Labs and Omni, all of our services, check out TalosCon. It's going to happen live in London, on-prem, as I call it, in person in London. So feel free. It's a free event. It's co-hosted with SRE Day, which is a 2-day event all about SRE, site reliability engineering topics. So there's a lot of breadth in topics there, but we just have a day 0 TalosCon event. So feel free to check it out. I will get the link to that and drop it in the notes in just a second. But first, let's go ahead and bring up Joe here. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Justin.
Thank you so much for joining me. I'm trying to find that link. There you go. It's not coming up in my history, and I have no idea why. So I wanted to put this in here for anyone that wants to come meet in person. We got a lot of fun stuff to show off at TalosCon. And you're familiar with AWS, I'm assuming, right? Like you are seasoned AWS engineer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think I got my official certification in 2017. And I've been working with it in production ever since.
So how much AI are you doing today?
How much Bedrock?
Yeah, pretty much every keynote and announcement has had some Bedrock integration, and it's a lot of fun. When I was there, I started, what year was that? 2020 at AWS on the EKS team, and everything was integrating with EKS, and it's like every other service needed a Kubernetes or EKS integration, and now that is also shifted over to Bedrock, and so it's the way it goes sometimes. Let me pull up here the notes, the install guide we're going to be following, and we're mostly going to be following this as is. There's a couple steps that we might need to pull out information and share or modify in the terminal to make it work. But otherwise, I think this is going to be hopefully straightforward and uneventful. But if there are events, that's why it's fun too. Okay, let me grab your screen here, and there we go. All right, so you have EC2 instances running here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is actually an EKS cluster. But from what I see in the documentation, we're going to be using the CLI. So just I think it's better that I just pull that over.
Yeah, instead of trying to do screenshots of the AWS console that frequently changes. Thankfully, the CLI is pretty standard. Also makes it a little easier to copy data out with subshells.
Okay. Should be here.
Can you make it the font a little bigger too?
Sure.
That's good.
Go.
Hello, Sam. Got some people watching along.
Fantastic.
All right, so let's go ahead. It looks like you already have Joe Dev is, I'm assuming, your AWS profile and the US West 2 region set.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So first things first here is we're going to look at our VPCs, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so First thing, okay, we are going to, the region is US West 2, but let me just change it. I'm going to region. I'm going to use US East 2 if that's East 2 if that's okay.
You just moved from Oregon to Ohio, so.
Okay, and
Looks like your profile still has it set. Oh, you do AWS region too. Set. Are these actually getting the right region? That's dev USEs too.
Yep.
Tags. Okay.
Yep. Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
Using
Your shell still says West 2, so that's why I was confused.
Yeah.
Your profile.
It's showing the default, but yes, we are echo dollar region, which is what we're using, is these two. So yeah.
Now, do you already have subnets created, or do you want to create a new subnet for it?
I think I'll create new subnets for it. Let me see the VPCs, just that we were just showing. So I have this VPC ID over here. And just make sure that I'm using the correct one. Shift that over here. And okay, yeah, okay, 197. Yeah, definitely. That's the VPC I'm working for.
That's the VPC ID you want?
Yep.
You can export that as the VPC variable. It looks like that gets used a couple times too.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. And VPC equals. Okay, great. And let's just make sure that we're creating a subnet. So subnet and a CIDR block. We're going to have to make sure.
I saw the last game. It was like 10.230 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to find the right CIDR. A question from the audience here about Talos. Is it a distribution? Yes, it is a Linux distribution. Whatever terminology you want to use for distribution there, meaning usually distributions are opinions on top of the Linux kernel, right? It's like we give you the Linux kernel to interface to your hardware, and then above that is usually like file system and package manager and just some general opinions about how Linux should run. In this case, Talos Linux is very opinionated and very restricted in scope, and it only works with Kubernetes. If you're using Talos for something that's not Kubernetes today, then it's not the right distro for you, probably. It doesn't have SSH, it doesn't have user creation. It's just a gRPC API, and the main idea is to create Kubernetes clusters. So, but yeah, it's a distribution just for that. It's kind of like embedded systems when you look at like IoT and stuff like that, where they have very small subsets of what they want to do. But in most of those cases, most of the embedded systems, they start from like a general purpose, like Ubuntu or Debian or something. They strip away a bunch of stuff, but they still have like systemd and they still have a package manager or something like that. Talos Linux doesn't have any of that. There's no systemd. It's just a Go binary that runs the kubelet and containerd.
Okay, so the CIDR block we're going to be using. Let's see what we have here, /19s. But I think maybe I want something a bit smaller. I don't think something.
We could do something like a /24 or something.
/24. Let me just see what we're going to start that from. Let's see. I'll just give it high enough. So this is currently the highest one. So we'll just do 230 and then like maybe 150 0/24. So it's going to be our CIDR block.
Those you got to remove those
black slashes. Okay, there we go.
I don't know why, for some reason, some of our docs pages have an extra line break, and I have not figured out why. Because it's just using a standard markdown generator, and it doesn't happen on other sites that use the same markdown generator. I haven't figured that one out.
Okay, so we have the subnet created, and according to the docs, I'm going to currently, we're going to, subnet created is the subnet ID created. So we are going to, subnet ID is over here.
There you go.
And
one thing I noticed in here in the docs is we are creating a high available control plane node cluster, meaning that we have 3 control plane nodes, but we're not actually spreading them across fault domains with availability zones in the docs.
okay.
That's something that I marked down as well. Like we should have that as an option.
Like a production setup, someone would want to have
right. You would have to create 3 subnets because the subnets are constrained to an AZ. So you'd have to have a subnet for each one. You'd have to do a couple other things here to make this high available against an AZ failure. In this case, we're just high available against machine failures. So depends on what your definition is of high available. But yeah, this is not how, say, EKS runs a control plane, which is across 3 fault domains of availability zones. So something we can definitely improve in the docs, but it'll work for this this purpose.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure we're going to have that spaces again. Okay, we have AMI. We're curling the GitHub, and then just JQ, which obviously I have installed already, which is, I don't know if that's a prerequisite, but I would probably point that out.
It is definitely an assumption.
Yeah. And when you get to a server and there's no JQ installed, you're like, what? I'm not working here. Okay.
So in this case, you're just getting which 1.70 image already exists, because we do publish Talos Linux to Amazon, to AWS already. So you don't need to do the second step here is to upload it yourself. If you want to upload it yourself, you can.
Create your own AMI, yeah.
Right. Yes. We don't need to do that part. We don't need to do the import because we have this AMI that already exists. It's already available. You can use it as is without doing those extra steps here of create your own AMI in the docs.
So I'm going to skip to the step where we just set the AMI. And what we just got back right over there. And oops.
Oh.
AMI equals that. There we go.
There we go.
Good. And we'll create the next step is creating a security group.
Right. So we jump ahead to creating a security group because we don't need to do the steps to upload the AMI ourselves.
Oops, I accidentally took this line. I'll change the name. Okay.
I really need to figure out those line breaks.
Yeah.
That's annoying.
No. Control A is working well, which is good. Okay, and there we go. Okay, create security group, and this is the tutorial. Okay,
that's our region. Yep.
Should be group ID. Very good. There we go. And then the next step was just setting security group equals the ID that we just got. So we're just going to set that up. And again, and just that. Okay.
Perfect.
Group, and using security group allow all internal traffic within the same security group, which is EC2.
Yeah, and that internal traffic is just because these machines are going to be part of a Kubernetes cluster and workloads. And if you are restricting, all of the network traffic between workloads, is going to be a little bit more difficult to actually run things. We're also, in this case, we're going to be doing etcd replication between the nodes. There's other control plane communication that happens too. So.
Okay, so that is the group name, protocol 0, and the source group. Okay, there we go. This was just one rule. Pretty pretty much allowing everything. And expose the Talos and Kubernetes APIs. So this is 2 different commands. I got this one first. Oh, nice. This was out in line breaks.
And that one works. Why does that one work? I have no idea.
Okay, this
so
is
confusing.
Okay, this is great. And protocol CIDR 000.
So that's allowing 6443 from anywhere to go into the subnet or into the VPC. So, and that's 6443 is for the Kubernetes API, because that's just Kubernetes API needs to have that part open.
Mm-hmm. The API server. Okay, the next one is security group ingress. Again, this is just, these ports are the 50,000, 50,001.
And 50,000 is the Talos Linux API. So that's how you configure it. That's how you talk to Talos in general. So it's like, I guess you can consider it like port 22, right? If you're SSHing in, you need to have a port open that you can do configuration and debugging from. 50,001 is actually the trustd, which actually, it's interesting. That hasn't come up on any of the other streams. Trustd is how nodes join the cluster. And this is specifically opening it in case you have worker nodes that are outside of AWS. If you have your control plane in AWS and you have an on-prem environment, and you say, hey, I need this node to be able to talk to that control plane that lives inside of AWS, 50,001 is important so that the node can actually talk to the trustd endpoint to get its certificate signed to join the cluster.
Cool. Okay, great. So now we got that rule set up as well.
I think Chris may have solved our problem here. Chris, mess around on the site. If you hit the copy button in the little window, it gets the double line breaks. But if you highlight and Control C, it doesn't happen.
Okay, so maybe
we have something. So there might be a config problem wrong with that copy button. Or I think there's different renderers for the code blocks. And I could try, there's an alternative renderer. I'll try that in a demo in a local dev environment and see if that happens for me. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, and that makes sense because I was using the copy when it was just one command in like the code block, but here it was 2 separate commands. I wanted to run.
You did them separately, yeah.
Exactly, so I just copied it separately.
So yeah, now if you highlight those other ones, then you'll be okay.
Let's try that. Okay, if you're using kubespan and we'll be adding workers outside of AWS, you don't
need that because all of your workers are going to be inside of AWS, but kubespan is a WireGuard tunnel between the nodes. And so again, if you have worker nodes in AWS and worker nodes on-prem, they make a WireGuard connection between each other, and that goes over ports 51,820 is in the docs. And so, yeah, we don't need that because everything's going to be in AWS, but you would allow that traffic so that all of the nodes could talk to each other, like they're on a local network, right? Like WireGuard is just a VPN.
Right.
Solution, yeah.
Okay, so our next step is creating a load balancer. And yes, okay, highlighting and copying seems to be the way to go. Absolutely. Creating a load balancer in our region, and that's going to be the load balancer and connecting to our subnet.
And this type network is making an NLB for a network load balancer, and it's just forwarding TCP, no application, no terminating certificates or anything like that. It's just like, here's a TCP port. Go ahead and forward it to wherever it needs to go. So yeah.
Okay, so we are going to need this.
That lovely ARN.
Yep. This right over here, and there we go.
You can make your terminal a little bit smaller to help you with those copy paste, because that's going to get really annoying, that scroll back and forth if you want.
Yeah.
I think it'll be okay if you make it smaller once.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, great. And now that we set that, we are creating a target group for the load balancer.
Yep. And the target group, for anyone not familiar, in AWS terminology for load balancers is just like what it's going to hit on the back end of the load balancer. It's like there's targets that are usually there's EC2 instances, but they could also be other ARNs or other things that have an IP address inside of a VPC, like a Lambda function or something. But in this case, we just say, hey, we want a target group that's going to do those health checks, that's going to look for open 6443 on these instances behind the load balancer.
Exactly, and we are port 6443, which is the Kubernetes API, and all of the other TCP. Here we go. Okay, so we set that target group, and we're going to set an ARN again. And here we go. ARN of our target group, and okay, where are we going to be using that? Let's see. Okay, so the next step is creating the machine configuration files using the DNS name of the load balancer.
So I didn't see it in the output before. I don't remember if there was a DNS entry for your load balancer on the first outputs. It may have been there, but you might know. You can grab that from the console too if it's not. Go up one more step to the load balancer.
Yeah. So
oh, there it is. Yeah, DNS name. There we go.
Here we go. We got the DNS name over there. Yep.
So we should definitely export that or use it. And the port's going to be 6443, which is because we expose that on the load balancer itself.
Okay. Next step is already Talos CTL, which I'm assuming I'm going to have to install. Here. So can I install, is there any brew install? Do I need the brew tap?
It does have a brew install. Let me paste that in the chat here. It's brew install Sidero Labs /tap/Talos control. Oh, and Brew's going to do the full update, isn't it? Brew's always so nice of updating everything that you have installed.
Yeah.
But it's also fun to see what other people have installed. What was DocDoor? I don't know what that is.
I don't know if I remember.
DocDoor. I'm going to look that one up.
Like you just install something and you never use it.
And then it shows everyone what you installed. Okay, so we have Talos control installed. So we can run that gen config command. And this is just going to create the files we need. It's going to generate 3 files: a control plane file, a worker file, and a Talos config file. The main thing that's doing is generating certificates, because that's how we're going to communicate to the endpoints themselves. And inside those files is going to be a bunch of defaults and certificates, and that's all it's really doing here. Is we're just like, okay, well, this is how we're going to communicate with these nodes whenever they get spun up.
Okay, great. Now, interesting. So I see in the Talos CTL gen config. Let's see. I'll just copy.
Yeah, we need that load balancer DNS.
Right. I think, but that's the only one. I don't think we need the target group. ARN that for some reason, or at least I can't see it, that we need it at this stage yet.
I don't know where the target group would be used again. Yeah. I don't know why we exported that. I'm looking. Yeah. Oh, there it is. It's a little further down. We create the listener with that target group ARN. So okay. We'll leave that in there for sure.
Yeah. Okay, but
so you'll want to keep HTTPS as the protocol it's going to use. And then just paste in the DNS.
Right. So that was the one we had over here. Here we go. Was that, and the port was
6443.
Right.
So do HTTPS and then that DNS endpoint. Oh, you'll want to take out quotes. Yeah.
There we go.
There you
Uh, just
I don't think you need to quote it, but that's fine.
yeah, but
Yeah.
might as well.
So there's the generating PKI and tokens. And the main reason we have to set that endpoint is that's what the certificate is going to be signed with, is that endpoint now. So because if we call a different endpoint and the certificate's not valid for that endpoint, it's going to throw a fit. It's like, oh, actually, no, this isn't secure. This is not where you signed the certificate for. So all of our control plane traffic and our Kubernetes, our kube control endpoints is going to be using that as the load balancer. So if you had a different DNS endpoint, if you wanted to use the IP address, whatever, you need to make sure you sign the certificates with that. So go ahead and actually let's just open up the control plane YAML just to see it because it's helpful to sometimes look at it. It's just a standard YAML file. If you're used to Kubernetes, you've probably seen something like this. We have a version and well, there's no type in this one, but other things have types. The main sections here are machine, and then way down lower is cluster. Under machine is all the stuff for Talos Linux itself. And machine is like, hey, what volume should I be installed on? And where should I, what should my network be set up be? All of those sorts of things that you would normally do on a machine, either a VM or a physical machine. Cluster down lower is all for Kubernetes. And it's just, there you go. The CA certificates, what the endpoint is. And again, we just put that in there because that's where it's going to be. And then Kubernetes settings like pod subnet, service subnets, a join token for nodes to join the cluster, all of the things you typically would need for a standard Kubernetes install, those get generated and defaulted for you. There's plenty of other things you can change here config wise. And in this case, we're just going to leave the defaults because I'm pretty sure all of it works in AWS.
Okay. So that was the control plane. And there is a validate config just to make sure that that is valid and we're good.
Yeah, and in that case, I mean, if the default wasn't valid, we would have a big problem. But also, a lot of times people will change those values because they're like, "Oh, I want to use a different subnet, or I want to add config, whatever." There's plenty of stuff you can add to that. And I'm gonna find we have a reference for it too that I go to all the time. Here it is. This has the full configuration. If people want to look at it, just all the options, what they do. It has examples for it, all different things that you can add to a machine config or a cluster config.
Okay. And now we are going to create the control plane nodes, which are the instances for the control plane.
Yep. And that's just a while loop for, wow, we start at number 1 and we are less than 4. And that is like the worst way to do a for loop, in my opinion. Like start at 0 and when it equals 3 is like how I would do it. But anyway, and this is the main thing this is setting here is it's saying you're getting some T3 small instances. It's running the run instances command, which gives you 1 instance with that AMI that we exported earlier. And the user data there is the control plane YAML, which is what we just generated. So it's setting a standard cloud init scripts, but that our cloud init assumes that it can take in one of those complete config examples.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we're doing here. Is just it's an EC2 instance with the default settings for cloud init.
Okay.
Oh, security group and subnet are 2 different networks. Security group. Where is it saying?
Where did we create the security group?
Did we generate that subnet in the wrong, or the security group in the wrong subnet? Where did we create that? Let's see. Authorize. Oh, we created a security group and we did not set the subnet for it.
Okay.
So I'm assuming, let's see, AWS EC2. Oh, let me see here. Does it need a subnet? I'm looking at the help output right now to see. I don't see a. Why? Subnet's not an option for it. What was that error? Error occurred. Run instance software. Security group is the right one. That's export. And subnet belong to different networks.
Let's check out the network. I think we can just really check out the network in a minute.
Subnet ID and associate. Oh, because we're not giving it a public IP address? Is that why? Let's see. Where's that command again? Run. Where is it? AWS EC2. Associate public IP addresses. Okay, so we are attempting to create a public IP address, but I wonder if our subnet is not allowing that. VPC ID. Let me see here.
Attach
security group.
Why? What's different? This subnet is
All right.
231.50. Yeah, that's the site I was created. That's definitely a subnet. Security group.
Can you describe the security group? Describe. What is under AWS EC2 describe dash security dash groups. And you could pass it a dash dash group IDs and give it that security group variable.
Okay.
So there's our group name. Do we have a subnet in here? There's our port 50,000.
Wait, the VPC looks like the default VPC.
That's the default VPC.
Yeah, no good. Okay, so this was indeed not created in the correct VPC. And let's see why not. So I think we have to recreate the security group, or I'll just delete that one we created.
Yeah, I don't know if we can change that. Where'd it go? Create security group.
Yeah,
You can pass a VPC ID.
Yeah. Okay, so in the create security group section, can I, why is it not coming over here to the, trying to get that over. This is just, okay, so over here, create security group, then we would probably want to put the VPC ID.
Yeah. And I'm looking down low too, because we added the VPC ID to the load balancer commands, but we didn't for there. So we need to fix that in the docs.
Okay, great. So I think I'm just going to delete that security group.
Yeah, that's fine. We can start over from there.
Yeah. Okay, so security groups. Go. I'm going to look for this. Just delete it.
I need to turn up my AC. It's starting to get warm in my office. Too many computers running.
Yeah. I have a little Raspberry Pi that every once in a while its fan starts making noise. Okay, so I deleted that security group, and this time we used the VPC ID here, I believe, right?
We use the region, but not the VPC when creating the security group.
Here, yeah. So let's get back. Terminal, please. And I'm going to do this.
You'll need a back. Oh,
no. Okay. Delete that too. Okay.
Trying to see if we missed it somewhere else too. I actually think the best thing to do here would probably be make an auto scaling group. Oh, but we don't actually want. I guess you could statically define the auto scaling group, because the auto scaling group would automatically spread across AZs and replace nodes if one becomes unhealthy. Was it VPC ID or just VPC? I forget what your.
Good question.
I think your variable might have been VPC.
Yeah, you are right. Okay.
There we go. Command now. Oh, we didn't get the backslash.
Oh man. Okay, let's delete another security group.
Welcome to be a cloud engineer.
Yeah.
Done that so many times. Like, wait, what? Console.
Okay, we delete that. Okay, bye. And okay. There we go. And there you go. Backslash.
That's the one we want.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh, now that we got the security group created in the correct account, I think we can go to the while loop, right? I believe. And let's see. EC2 run instances, and we have the subnet, the security group. Okay.
We need to set up those ports again on that security group.
Right. Okay.
We'll need to allow that traffic. Yeah.
Okay.
Because we have a new ID we need to export.
Right. So let's get back to where we were. So create security group. Security group. So we created the security group. We're going to just set that again.
Let's set that variable, and then we have those 3 or 4 commands or something. I think it's 4 commands to allow the traffic. There. Oh, but we don't need the fourth. We don't even need WireGuard, so we just need those three.
Right. Okay, so security group and authorize. There we go. Mhm. Oh, okay. Again, it looks like we're missing maybe a VPC ID in the authorized security group ingress command, because I see that does not exist in the default VPC, which
Yeah.
we don't want anyway. So we're going to give that the same dash VPC, oops, VPC IP, and
Which is interesting when we have the group name, because we're using the group name as part of the command, but it still fails to know. Oh, it doesn't like VPC ID. I bet it's not consistent and it's just VPC. Wait, authorized security group address.
yeah, yeah.
I bet it's just let's see. What is our VPC flag here? Oh, I don't see for security groups for a default VPC. For security groups, a non-default, you must specify the ID of the security group. Okay, so if we're not in default, we have to set security group, not group name. We have to do group ID, and we take out the VPC command.
Okay, so we're going to change this.
So you can take out the VPC on the end too.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to take
and that's
that
going to be group ID, and then that variable that we exported.
and like that group ID, group ID dollar security group, right? That was.
Yep. If I'm calling it. Actually, I'm still trying to do the security, the VPC. Source group. Region all group ID. Let me see. Group ID of the security group. We don't have a group name. There's VPCs spread all over this this help doc, so I'm trying to see which ones we don't want. Protocol ports.
Group ID.
And this is, oh, that's output, VPC ID. What was the, let me look at the command, source group.
Authorized security group ingress. Group ID, group permissions.
The name or ID of the source security group. I don't know what that, oh, that's because it's allowing traffic inside the group. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the examples in their docs show source group is also a group ID, not a group name. And the command we have is a group name. So let's try changing that. What was the error we got?
The name or ID of the source security group.
Okay, yeah. So we need to set that to also be the variable security group.
Yeah, so the error we got was does not exist in default. Okay.
Yeah. So that source group should be security group variable.
Okay. Group. And the group ID.
That should still be the same because we're allowing traffic inside of the security, inside of that.
From itself.
Ta-da! There we go.
Yay. Okay, great. So I'll just put that in the chat just for
And we don't need to. I will definitely make a note of that in the docs.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out a good way, because it looks like all of these defaults, or that default command would work if you're using the default VPC.
Exactly. Which is probably what whoever created this used.
And that is what a lot of people still use, but it's not what you would recommend using. And
Definitely not.
Yeah. But it's going to be really difficult to say, like, if you have this set up, do this. If you have this set up, do this.
Yeah.
But I think that'll work for those next two commands as well, where we change out group name for group ID and change the variable.
Okay.
Nope, you got to change the group name.
Right. The group ID again. Correct. Group name.
No, ID.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
And group.
That should work.
Oh. Perfect.
Yay. And then we got one more of those, and we got to do the same thing.
And we'll change.
I actually don't see a downside of changing all of those to group IDs, because even if you're using the default VPC,
group ID is going to be.
We can specify. We already have the VPC variable, so we can specify where it's coming from. So.
Okay. And we were okay in authorized security group.
We don't need that one because we don't need the WireGuard endpoint.
Right.
And then the next thing was load balancer. So I think we're back at creating machines.
Yes. So that was our while loop over here.
Yeah.
And this should be set. Our subnet is set a my region. And yeah, let's get back to CP. There we go. Okay, and let's see.
Aha. And in this case, it asks us make note of the private IP addresses, because we should have 3 private IP addresses there, which are part of that subnet, which is what we need to put as the back end of the load balancer. So we'll need to either just save those or describe them later, or we can grab them from the console. Either any of those options is fine.
Yeah. Okay. 19. Okay, so that was 140, 19, and 68. And we're done.
There'll be 3 of them, so we'll have to do all 3, but we can grab them. That's fine. We're going to do one more run instance command for the worker node. And this is just using the same command, but a worker YAML file instead. And the default there is in the configuration. It says, hey, you're not a control plane node, so you don't run the...
You are a worker. That's its user data. Yeah. Okay.
And we don't need any information from that because it's not behind the load balancer. We're not going to contact it or anything directly.
Okay.
So, command found tag specifications. Oh, we're missing a backslash on that command. That's a...
Yeah, over there.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you use these tags in any way, or is it just like for clarity?
That one is just setting the name tag. So in the console, it'll show up as an AWS tutorial worker. So in that case, it doesn't matter. A lot of people use tags for various things, but yeah, that example tag is just setting the name tag, so it doesn't matter.
Okay.
In your console, that machine will have a blank name.
Right.
So now we need to make the listener, and that's where we need those IP addresses for each of the control plane nodes.
Right. So let me just set those. Let me take a look.
So it wants us to export CP node 1 IP, CP node 2 IP, CP node 3 IP, and then that command will work We definitely can improve.
Oops, I didn't want to take that. I was going to take this. There we go, just that. And that was, okay. There was 140 and node 1, and then node 2 IP. I think we had, I think, 19. Let me just verify that in the console.
So you have that up in the console, so you can grab those.
Yep.
Perfect.
I have kind of a console right over here up to the side. There we go. Instances. Okay. Launch time. So we should have 6 nodes running, right? All together, like 3 workers and 3 control planes.
I don't think we made 3 workers. We only made the 1 worker. And the worker is going to have a blank name in the console. But yeah, we have three control plane nodes. Actually, you probably have more than 3 control plane nodes. Because, or no, it failed to create them because the subnet didn't work.
Okay, so we are looking for the internal address. Wait, no, so the name here, CP2, okay, here we go. CP2 is 19 indeed. Let's see, we got that, and CP1 was 140, and CP3 is 68.
68.
So, yep. Okay, and we'll proceed to register the targets. Okay, so region we got, target group ARN we set, I believe, previously. So now we should be okay.
Yeah, that's the first time we're using that target group ARN. So.
Okay, target IDs, registered targets seems to come back without any errors. So that seems good. And create listener. Okay. Okay, load balancer ARN.
In that case, that's interesting. The listener is on 443. I thought all of our other ports were 6443. I wonder if we change that later. No, I don't see it. We'll see if that throws an error. I don't, because it's going to forward port 443, forwarding it to 6443 on the nodes. But I don't know if that's, I don't know. We'll see how this works. We might need to change that the port. So in this case, we have all of the infrastructure is finally ready.
Yeah.
the infrastructure, we have a load balancer in front of 3 nodes, and that's it. And that's like we did all of those steps to get, we have 4 computers running with 3 of those nodes have a load balancer in front of them. So they're all on their own subnets. They're in a single AZ. But now you can, the next step is to bootstrap etcd. In this case, we're just setting like a helper command here, so we don't have to set this variable every time. But you have a Talos config file in your local directory, and that Talos config file is like a kube config. It's how you're going to talk to the Talos API, and we're going to set an endpoint and a node as variables in that file. So anytime we run a Talos control command, it's going to automatically go look for that IP address and the node IP address. And in that case, that's the public IP address of one of the nodes.
Okay, so we are going to set the endpoint. So this is the control
Yeah, so you want to get that public IP address from the console on one of the nodes.
Let's see which node that should be. CP3, CP3. Wait, so we have 3 nodes, right? So these are the 3 nodes that we are, let's see, these, right? And
we only need the public IP address for one of them. It
so-
doesn't matter which one, as long as they're all control plane nodes. So we can use any one of the ones we want. Yeah.
let's use one just kind of like for clarity. And then Talos CTL config. So we did that.
And then we'll need that, copy that IP. Yep. There you
Go. Okay.
And then just change endpoint in that last command to node.
Mm-hmm.
And so it'll automatically go to the node of that IP. There you go. One other little step. Let's just do this real quick. Do export space Talos config, all caps. All cap. Yep. Equals no space.
Mm-hmm.
Dot / Talos config, all lowercase. And that's just going to set our what config file we want to use. So just like a kube config, it's just going to say, hey, use this file for all my Talos control commands. So we don't need to set that every time.
Mm-hmm.
So now you can run Talos control. Actually, run Talos control dashboard real quick. This is, again, we set the endpoint and we set the config. So this is going to reach out to that node and then show us the dashboard from that node. Assuming this works. That's also the test there.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Where it's hanging, which makes me think that there's a security group. One of the ports isn't open, but we did the ingress 50,000.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's timing outs on that IP address. So we definitely have a problem with the security group. And we're not going through a load balancer. We're hitting the direct public IP address. So we know it's a security group problem. Let's go back and look at the security group and see what the rules are. We should have 6443, 50,000, and 50,001. We don't need 50,001, but we should at least have 50,000.
Right, so let's maybe even take a look at configuration over here. And let's bring this window up. Come on over. Okay.
Okay, so let's see those inbound rules.
Okay, so what we have.
There's 50,000. Is it, and it's from anywhere?
Mm-hmm.
So we should allow any traffic. That's a security group. That's just a rule ID, IPv4, custom TCP. And this 5612 security group we're sure is part of the subnet. It needs to be associated with the VPC and subnet. I think it's just the subnet.
I think, yeah. The VPC.
9197 is our. Yeah. So let's double check that VPC.
Okay, yeah, so this is the VPC we were using. I'm going to just verify that here. Go dollar VPC. Yes,
9197. Yeah. Okay.
this is what we were using.
So where is this? And then if we look at, we should be able to see the CIDRs in here, right?
Yeah, here's a CIDR. And this is we were using a CIDR from this VPC.
Yep.
Um,
And then go into your subnets. Yeah.
This is the
And
subnet.
it's VPC 9197. Yeah.
Yeah, 150. Uh,
Not the route tables. We should be able to go into EC2. And can you open a console to one of those instances? Should be one of our control plane 1 or whatever.
Here, so this one.
EC2 serial console should work.
It's not a public subnet.
Ah,
There we go.
thanks for the warning.
Yeah, that which is probably the reason we can't connect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we can flip the like a switch on that to make it public.
I think we have to connect to an internet gateway or a NAT or something like that.
Oh yeah, you don't have a gateway attached to the VPC?
I guess not. I think like everything we access is through VPN.
So go into the VPC. And is there a, it's not defaults. Where do you see gateway?
Oh, it does have an indirect gateway attached.
Okay. It's attached. 9197.
Oh, that's good.
And so if we go into the subnet, we should have our route table, and that route table, the 00 route should be to the gateway. We don't have a 00 route.
Right. So we can add that.
Yeah. I think the gear might give it to you. Nope. That's just view settings. You got to edit there. Host name, enable resource DNS. No. Oh, go to the VPC route tables. Does VPC show a route table there? CIDRs, flow tags, integrations. No, it doesn't. Okay.
Well, I think the subnet was the right. Here we go. Edit route association. And
But we can't add one. Configure. Add internet access to a subnet. There we go. VPC, create a gateway. We already have that. Attach the gateway to the VPC, which we already have. It's already attached.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't have the default route. Egress. NAT gateway's there. Are we in? Yeah. Dev East 2A. Because we only created our machines in one AZ. Go back into EC2 and make sure we're in 2A. Because we may have created these by default in the wrong AZ.
And,
2B.
2B.
There you go. So the subnet in 2B that we created does not have the internet gateway attached.
Right.
So internet gateways are regional, though, I thought. So we should be able to attach it to the subnet and give it internet access.
Let's get back to the indirect gateway. Wait, there's a NAT gateway attached to.
That NAT gateway is attached to 2A.
Mm-hmm.
Can you edit it and attach it to 2B as well, of the subnet we made? I don't. And it's secondary. Add a new IP address, IPv4 address, and add it from the other subnet. Or, oh, that's not it. That's not going to work. Those are elastic IPs. That's not what we want.
Right.
Default local route, gateway load balancer. That's not what I want. Let me go back and look at our command.
Maybe we should have specified the AC. That was probably like.
Yeah, I'm wondering if when we created that subnet, we created in the region, we created it with the VPC, we created it with a CIDR, but we did not do it with we didn't set an AZ, which is going to cause a problem there. Yeah, you can set a availability zone during the subnet creates, which is where our VPC or where our gateway exists.
Mm-hmm.
Can we create a node inside the subnet that has the gateway attached to it? Oh, but we'd have to redo the load balance. No, load balancer would be fine. We'd have to redo the rules for that subnet.
Right.
That's the only thing I can think of. So we either start over and create our subnets. Although now that I think about it, this whole guide doesn't say anything about a NAT gateway, which it should.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's also, again, it's assuming that you're using the default VPC, but the default VPC doesn't even have a NAT gateway. So, but wait a minute, we have public IP addresses. These nodes are public. They don't need a NAT gateway. They have public IPs. So this is still a security group problem, right? I think so. If I have a public IP, the only thing that should stop, like, it doesn't matter. Gateways don't matter at all. I have a public IP address. The only thing at that point is my security group failing or blocking me.
What are the security groups currently connected here? So security groups.
There's an inbound rules as well.
Inbound rules.
All traffic inside the security group, all traffic's allowed. All 50,000 is allowed from anywhere. All 6443 is allowed from anywhere. But what are our outbound rules? Outbound rules are probably allow everything. It was just below that. Port range all. Yeah, okay. It should allow all traffic to everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Security. Wait. Go back to the end of that line there. Security group. Oh yeah. That's just saying the name because we did recreate it with that name. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this looks fine.
Mm-hmm.
We're allowing all outbound traffic. I have a public IP address. Just for fun.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get the IP address of one of the other nodes of the control plane node 2.
Okay.
And let's public IP and then go back to that run Talos control dashboard with a -E and that IP address.
Mm-hmm. Oh, whoops. And control.
And then -N. Oops, sorry, I wasn't done. And then a -N with the same IP address. Just we're overriding the config, but I'm assuming this is still not going to allow me to connect to it. No, that should pop right up. There's a security problem. Who'd have thought? AWS.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not allowing public IP traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And that is really freaking annoying. No VPC doesn't matter because we have public IP addresses. Can we go back to the security group, allow all traffic, all 00, all ports, all traffic?
Yeah, so where was our security group? Subnet.
Yeah, Brent, have no worries here that this is not just you struggling to figure this stuff out. I have worked with AWS for more than a decade now, and this stuff still every time.
Okay, so
edit inbound rules,
and just here for all.
You can change the source on that, and just say it's 0. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So source.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh wait, it doesn't let you. You may not specify. We have to delete the other ones. We have to delete the other rules because we already specify. Yeah, delete those two.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And now it should let you. You may not specify an IPv4 CIDR for an existing reference group ID rule.
Huh? What?
I have delete the rule and add it. We're gonna get this. Port range 0 is all custom TCP.
And source all. And that rule?
I don't think we need another rule. That should allow everything.
And save.
If this doesn't get us in, I don't know. What? Why? We're open to everything. We have public IP addresses. The only thing I can think of is the node's not running. It's booted, right? Like in the console, it says it's running.
Yeah.
It's running.
Yeah, that's running.
Wait. Now, oh no, we can't. We still can't get we can't connect to it because it says the subnet is not a public subnet.
I think there's not a direct route in this subnet anyway. That's the problem. It's not a public subnet.
To make the subnet a public subnet, add a route to the subnet route table to the internet gateway. but we have a public IP address. We don't need that. They do have private IPs, and those private IPs are not public or not routable.
Access to public IPs.
Wait. I have a search for what was it called? There's a new AWS tool. Connectivity test. What's it called? VPC Reachability Analyzer.
Okay.
So use your search bar for VPC or Reachability Analyzer. I've used this in the past and it actually worked for me. So now I'm curious.
Okay. Getting started. Oh, wait.
It should be in the console.
Oh, okay. So reachability.
There you go.
There we go. Now you can ask Amazon Q.
Oh, don't do Q. No, that's just asking for trouble there. Create and analyze path, I think is what we did.
Whatever. Source type. So we want to access.
We can't do it from outside, can we? You can try instances. Source. Okay, then we have one of the control plane nodes. Yep. Destination type. Can we go IP address? Okay, and now type in you could do like your public IP address or here wait. What is my current one? Here you go. Do 47. 47.149.
Yeah.
.33.113.
Okay.
TCP is fine. Create and analyze.
Okay.
I'm hoping it tells me like something obvious here. Like your security group isn't associated with something. What? Oh, there you go. Pending.
This analysis can take several minutes to complete.
So I've done this between regions before, and I've done it between like clusters before. I've never done it from the outside world before. So I don't know. Was IP address wasn't an option for the source, right? It was only instances. I only saw IP address on the So I can't see how to get into the instance, but I could see how it could go out of the instance. Or possibly not go out. Like maybe there's something that's try a refresh there. Yeah. Not reachable. We know why.
Yeah.
Destination not reachable for more information. Okay, so why? Outbound header, ENI, security group. Where's our path should show like an X. There you go.
Here we go. Route table, no possible destination.
Okay, so we need a 000 route. But it has a freaking public IP address. We don't need that. This drives me crazy.
Route table.
Routes.
Black hole.
Everything to 10.106. All right. Edit routes. Okay, but we couldn't add a route here, right? We couldn't add our gateway.
Looks like this is okay, removing, but how about adding?
Add a route at the bottom. Yeah.
Okay, great. So
Target, do 00.
And target
Do a NAT gateway.
NAT gateway.
Does it give us one?
Yeah.
Yes, there we go.
Okay. Save. Okay, let's try that again.
I still don't know why this matters for a public IP address.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it shouldn't. It's not going to. Dang it. Let's do that. No, I would say do reachability one more time. Like it doesn't. It's a public IP. Like internet IP addresses are internet IP addresses. They should not have filtering and things blocking them.
Reachability.
Because I think you can just rerun the.
Now we have a path already, and we just run the analysis again. Okay.
Not reachable again. It immediately came back, but it's got to be another step in the.
I think these. I ran them. Here we go.
Oh, okay, there you go.
I ran it twice before. Yeah. So we're waiting for reachable. Whoa. Okay.
Well, we have a NAT gateway now, but we're still doing that public IP address, and it's definitely not. Wait, now could we load the console, the local console with EC2 Connect?
Let's try that.
Now we should see something else on here.
Subnets. No, EC2.
These are great because they're real. That's what we're going for. We're going for real here. I just hope we can actually get it to work. Serial console on the end. Instance is not public subnet, but we have a what? If you click on the instance or serial console on the end there, does it say the same error? Oh, account not authorized. Oh, even worse. That's not gonna work. Yeah. That one's not gonna work. Okay.
Definitely not.
Oh man, I feel like we're just at a point where we can't troubleshoot anymore. Where else would this be falling over? Can I? What was that? What's the public IP? 18.
223, 187, 241.
223, 187.241. So the Talos endpoint by default should return an ICMP, a ping request. It is not returning any IP, any pings. We are still isolated somewhere in this VPC. And even though we have opened up the security group to allow all internet traffic, we have a public IP address. I'm just walking through this, like, why does this not work? And that's amazing. And we can't connect to the console. I think this might be the first install that we did not get working. We've been going for an hour and 20 minutes now, and I don't want to hold you any longer. It's probably late for you. And this is going to be something that I now need to figure out. This is going to be a task for me to, like, what is going on here? But we definitely, I don't know anything that is missing. Is there anything else? But I can't. So yeah, I can't ping it from anywhere. And we opened up traffic. Weird. Subnet.
Maybe we should. I think, like, I would have probably created the subnet in the AZ where the NAT gateway existed, even though we did open that route up.
Because the NAT gateway is regional. It's in the VPC. And within the VPC, we should have a route to the NAT gateway or connectivity to the NAT gateway. But again, I don't think that matters at all because we're using the public IP address.
Right.
The only thing that blocks a public IP address is a security group. And the security group says we can go anywhere and anyone can talk to us. Yeah, because we have zeros on the inbound and outbound. And I don't know another way to, besides like running another VM. Oh, but we'd still be able to connect to it. I don't think, like, if you ran another VM, we still can't SSH into it. We can't use the console because the account can't do the console. So I am out of ideas for troubleshooting this right now. And look, there's our NAT gateway, our zeros. But again, that's only for that's only the private IP addresses matter there, right? Because only things that get an IP address from the VPC or from the subnet are going to route through there. Everything else, public IP address is a public IP address. Go to your Elastic IPs. Do we have Elastic IPs associated with those? We don't. Oh, those aren't, that's right. They're not Elastic IPs. Those are, because Elastic IPs, you keep the IP address. These are just, we get a public IP address for an instance. So that's different. Because you could create like you could create an interface and then create an Elastic IP to the interface and then attach the interface to the instance, but that doesn't matter because we have an instance that should have an Elastic
IP.
Yeah,
right.
We already have a public IP address, which is different than Elastic IP, but should still be treated the same. But man, I am stuck. I want to recreate it. I'm going to recreate this in my personal account, and I'm going to see with using a different VPC, like not the defaults, because you shouldn't be using the default VPC. And I'm going to see where I get stuck on this. But that was, I mean, again, I always enjoy the debugging. Like that's the thing that's always kind of fun and figuring out. But the fact that we got completely stuck here and we cannot route anything in or out of that subnet right now is confusing to me, because the security group and a public IP address should be the only two things that stand between us and that IP address. So I want to see how that works in a different account. But Joe, thank you so much for running through this with me. We tried. We was an hour and a half getting there, and AWS security groups defeated us. So, as they've defeated many people before. So yeah, I'm going to try to get this one running again, and if I get it, I will definitely share with you what I found. So
absolutely.
Thanks everyone for coming and watching. And if you get it working, leave a comment, let us know, and we'll check out what we did wrong. So thanks so much. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.